Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about 4 key ways to get over your ex. So, these are really, really important tools, and these are really important things to know because I think when we go through a breakup, one of the most challenging things about it is that you feel a sense of learned helplessness a lot of the time because you don't even know why you're actually hurting at a deep level. It's like you know that the breakup hurts, but are we specific enough? Do you know what about a breakup is hurting you? Do you know why specifically you're hurting and what's going on at the subconscious level and the different mechanics of everything that are taking place so that you can effectively heal? So if you haven't already checked out, we have a really in-depth How to Heal from a Breakup course that you can check out for free for 7 days by clicking the link in the description box below. When you enter into the membership platform, you can type in Breakup in all of your different courses that are there on your dashboard, and you will be able to see that course. And it comes with the workbook, worksheets, everything. But I'm going to go through some really key principles that that course expands on in a tremendous amount of detail. The very first principle is when we go through a breakup, we go through a bit of an identity crisis. And this is largely because, especially in our longer term relationships, the subconscious mind is always trying to meet its needs in the most effective, or not the most effective, the most quick way possible, not necessarily the most effective, like the most fast, if that makes sense. I feel like that's not grammatically correct, but it's okay. So the subconscious mind goes into the situation. And let's just pretend, for example, that I'm somebody who isn't good with boundaries and I don't protect myself. And maybe I have a hard time standing up for myself or asserting myself or something like that. Okay. So let's pretend that's the case. Then let's pretend I meet somebody in a relationship. And I'm in that relationship and that person really looks out for me, really sets boundaries and asserts for me or on my behalf in front of other people if they feel like I've been done wrong in some way. And so I feel like that person is protective over me in that sense. Well, what's going to happen is because I personally feel disempowered by that, my subconscious mind is going to learn, oh, well, I can just get my need through this individual and that's fine. Then I can set that to rest. I don't have to worry about this. So the subconscious mind, because it gets its needs met through somebody else, learns to rely on other people that are helping to meet the needs in the area that you feel disempowered around. Now, where this becomes tricky is that over time, our subconscious builds a sense of dependency on somebody that we're in a relationship with. And it's not necessarily a sense of dependency where we feel like, we're completely helpless without the person. But when that dependency is broken, and usually when we're in a relationship, especially a romantic one, you have to remember this person is replacing your relationship to your primary caregiver in childhood. Basically, our primary caregiver in childhood gets substituted by our adult romantic relationship as our primary attachment figure in our adult lives. And so we really build this deep sense of bonding, and we aren't just going to rely on one need to be met through this person. There's usually many needs that we're relying on at a subconscious level. So when we disconnect from somebody, you have to remember, it's not like the physical form of the person you're missing, right? When you go through a breakup, or if you think of somebody, God forbid, who passes away in your life, you're not missing their body, you're not missing their physical form. You're missing the needs they brought into your life and the traits they brought out in you. And so what happens is when that disconnect happens, we go through withdrawal. We go through this whoa, I don't know how to meet all these needs on my own that this person was meeting, that my subconscious mind over time learned to just really well rely on this person to be able to meet for me. And this is why, for example, you'll often see anxious, preoccupied individuals who are, as a general rule, most out of relationship to their own needs, suffer over breakups, as a general rule, more than fearful avoidant attachment styles or dismissive avoidant attachment styles, because both of those attachment styles tend to have their independent side, right? Their avoidant side, which really means them relying on themselves to meet their needs. It doesn't mean they don't still suffer and hurt over breakups, but it doesn't hurt to the same degree and definitely not as much initially. And so this is principle number 1. When we're trying to get over our ex, we have to get back into relationship with the needs that were being met by that person. And it's a call for personal empowerment. It's a call for us to be able to take a look at, why am I hurting? What's going on inside of me? To specifically isolate exactly what those needs are that person was missing, and to then learn to bring those needs into our own lives as a person, to develop a relationship to ourselves in those areas. So that's item number one. And it's a really important principle when it comes to getting over somebody and being able to heal and move on. Number two, we have something called trait integration. You can think of this as like golden shadow work. If any of you guys are familiar with shadow work, we talk about that quite a bit on this channel too. But what you can take a look at here is trait integration is sort of like, for example, we really value trait variety. Biologically, we're programmed to want trait variety. If we were out alone in the wilderness years and years and years ago, and somebody is really smart and we're really strong, and we can pair up with that person, we're more likely to survive. So at a biological level, our subconscious mind is actually quite attracted to somebody who has different traits from you, especially if those different traits are things that you are actively repressing or you are disempowered around. And so if somebody's expressing some sort of trait, a trait, for example, could be they're expressing strength, they're expressing their intelligence, they are expressing, these things that we would label people as, so to speak. We are often attracted to those things in other people that we've built positive emotional associations to, that we feel helpless within ourselves to express. And then we put this person on a pedestal. And so maybe, for example, your ex was somebody who you thought was really smart and really funny. And maybe you felt like, oh, I don't feel like I'm that smart. I don't feel like I'm that funny. Or you felt disempowered in those areas, not because that's necessarily the case, but maybe you've learned to believe that about yourself over time, perhaps because of childhood programming or things like that. So you're going to put this person on a pedestal. And then when that's pulled away from your life, the subconscious mind is also suffering and sort of triggering off this pain-oriented biological response. Like, oh my gosh, without that person, those traits are taken away. Those traits and the more of those traits that there were more likely to help me survive. And now without those things, I don't know if I'm going to. And so similarly to our needs, this is another call for us to be able to actually show up and empower these things in the relationship to ourselves, to see where we already have those traits that we were covering up. So for example, to see how we actually are smart, maybe somebody that we loved or were in a relationship with was really smart in one area, but maybe if we really look, maybe we're just as smart in so many different areas of life. And so it's us being able to like really see ourselves more fully and stop believing in lack in ourselves around different traits, and also work on empowering those traits actively through our behavior. So like being able to show up and take action as it relates to those traits, right? Actually do things that improve your intelligence or improve your sense of humor or whatever it might be. So these two things are really important principles. And I really just want to remind you, like when we miss somebody, we don't miss like just their physical body. We miss these specific things. And when we can really work on nurturing and nourishing these things in our own personal lives, our ability to like heal and overcome things and still care for the person, of course, but not feel this like suffering and pain based on dependency and somebody doing things for us that was making us whole, as opposed to us being whole individually and then having healthy interdependent relationships. So it's really important to see like that's really what's going on that's causing so much of that pain and suffering. Now, there's two other really important principles. Principle number 3 here is we tend to tell lots of stories. We love to give meaning to things. The subconscious mind tries to give meaning to things as a strategy to gain certainty. So for example, it's really easy for me as a person to, if I feel uncertain, and I'm just giving you a theoretical example, right? Like obviously I get to be consciously aware of a lot of this stuff, which is nice. But let's say that I'm in a relationship with Bob, and let's say Bob leaves the relationship and I go, it's because I'm unlovable. If I was just more lovable, Bob would have stayed. Or if I was just more worthy or just better at XYZ, like the mind tries to do that. And it gives meaning based on its own past wounds and experiences. But we have to go in there consciously and clean that meaning up that our subconscious and autopilot thought patterns are trying to project out and cause us to think and cause us to feel, as a strategy for gaining that sense of certainty, being able to understand why a situation happened. So we have to get out of autopilot mind this way. And what I really urge people to do is when you go through a breakup and you're trying to get over your ex, sit down and write out, what are my stories? I hear a lot of ones that are like, I was a failure. I failed at the relationship. If I just did XYZ differently, the person would have stayed with me. I'm going to be abandoned now, or I was abandoned by this person. The person never loved me. I'm unlovable. I can't trust anybody. This person betrayed me. I will always be betrayed. I will always be alone. I hear a lot of these types of stories. Put them on paper, question them. Ask yourself, can I 100% know that this is an accurate depiction of the truth? and try to poke holes in it actively. Why would this maybe not be true? And what's some proof that I have? And why is it possible that the relationship didn't work out for reasons other than this? And how is it possible that I am, in fact, lovable or worthy or was a success in many ways in how I showed up in the relationship? So you really want to poke many holes in this so that you can actually release this from your subconscious mind. The reason you need to poke the holes and find the evidence is because, and this is a very strong principle of cognitive behavioral therapy, is like we have to, and hypnosis essentially, we have to use our conscious mind to speak to our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind speaks through imagery and emotion. It does not speak through language. So when we only question it intellectually, it doesn't reach and land in the place where we're experiencing this pain and suffering to begin with. So this is a really important component or principle to be able to move on from a past relationship. Step number 4. When we go through a breakup, we tend to focus more exclusively on the drawbacks of the breakup and not see the benefits. We look at all the costs. Oh, I'm going to miss the person. I don't have this person. Our friendship group is changing. Those costs are there. Don't get me wrong. Like those things are there for everybody. Breakups hurt. They're painful. They suck. They disrupt your life in so many different ways. But there are benefits too, and they will always be there if we're willing to expand our perception. If somebody broke up with somebody else, the relationship wasn't working for at least one person in the relationship. So one person was not going to show up the way that they could or have the potential to when they really, really love or when they're really invested. Usually people break up because a lot of communication problems are happening, a lot of resentment, a lot of inability to resolve issues, incompatibility components that are taking place. So we want to look at what are the benefits of not being with somebody. And sometimes we have more time to focus on ourselves, to be with somebody that's a better fit for us long-term, to pour into ourselves and to grow as a person and an individual and develop ourselves to be more ready for a healthier relationship long-term. There are lots of benefits there. And we really want to expand our perception to see the entire picture, not just that selective perception of exclusively negative things. So we want to look at, okay, what are some of the good things about this? And what are the good things that I can choose to take away from this going forward as well? What did I learn? How can I grow? What did I let go of that was no longer serving me in my life? And then you also want to look at what would the negatives be if I stayed with somebody who felt this way about me. And it just rebalances your perception. It really helps you to not get stuck on a one-sided story that can cause more pain and suffering in our relationship dynamics. So these are 4 main principles. There's obviously so much more to say about this. If you want to do a deep dive into this and you want some resources and support, check out our course, How to Heal from a Breakup. You can click the link in the description box below. It's a really, really powerful course. It gives you a whole bunch of different things outlined in detail, helps you specifically know what your needs and traits are in relationship to a breakup, helps you know exactly what your stories are, helps you with the cost benefit analysis and other key principles that are extremely powerful and important for healing. So I hope this all makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Please share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.